Yeah, excited.
Nervous?
Absolutely. No, excited, nervous, I guess, is probably... Not really. Not nervous of... There's nothing that the Lake District can throw at you that you cannot get round, really. You know, we know we can do it. It's just a matter of getting it all right on the day and stitching it together, isn't it? I think the nutrition, obviously, all them things is all the variables, isn't it? Get all that right, and I don't see any reason it can't be successful. But, you know, weather, nutrition... hydration could all do. Good. Calm, relaxed, but excited anticipation, I suppose, to some extent. You guys had left. I shouted bye about 4 times to them all, and just like the band was upstairs, and I heard a little bye, Dad. They'll be coming around though in 20 minutes' time and see we're around there, I suppose. So.
Are you excited? Yeah? Do you think he's going to do good? No! Yes. Are you going to say what you said downstairs? What did you say downstairs?
Good luck, Daddy. Running on it.
Yeah, I think we'll do good.
Yeah, my dad was quite keen on the speed runners, to be fair. But Dan's taken it to another extreme, hasn't he? Taken it to a bigger. Oh, I probably mentioned it about a year and a half ago, and he's never talked about anything else since.
Did you understand what it was?
I had a vague idea, but not really till he told me, and then I realised the magnitude of what he was going to do. Really.
What do you think about your shaven legs?
Interesting. He seems to quite like his shaven legs, to be honest. I think even after the BG, when he stops having to tape his legs up and that kind of thing, I suspect he's probably going to keep shaving them.
Daniel talked to himself. You don't really say anything. I don't talk very much, and Danny doesn't shut up, so we're probably quite a good combo. I just yes.
Danny comes up.
No. Yes. I think it was the year I did the wall, so it was 2014. I originally met him at Parkrun, just when he used to beat us. That doesn't happen anymore.
Well, I knew of Danny from the club, I've been running at the club for about 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years, and so I knew there was like this fellow with long hair and tattoos and things that used to run fast with Phil's group, but I only really got to know Danny and start chatting with him when we decided to do the Bob Graham relay.
Yeah, I think he has his whole adult life. He started when he was about 18 or something, but I was the first runner, to be fair. I was in the Harriers.
The first fell race was the Chevy in 2006, but I never did it again for about 10 years nearly. Why? Because I had knackered ankles and I didn't want to ever do it again. Pro I would think is the first sort of... I'd start, Chris Rowe was a big instigator because Chris started pushing us to sort of try the more technical stuff. Even front and woods felt technical when I was running with Chris in the first early days. I found out about Bob Graham reading Feet in the Clouds. That was Chris Rowe recommended that. So all of this is his fault really, when I think about it. And he'll never did.
I only really got to know Danny and start chatting with him when we decided to do the Bob Graham relay. That was 2016, so it was the first time the club had really tried to do anything sort of long distance like that before, and we completely got our asses handed to ourselves by the weather. Leg 1 was an absolute disaster and leg 2 was pretty hard going from all accounts, and we didn't even get started on leg 3, which was I think a very good idea because we just weren't ready for anything like the Bob Graham at that stage, even as a relay, let alone one person doing it.
the Bob Graham is just a long distance challenge, isn't it, in the Lake District, with quite a bit of ups and downs, and and a long day spent with mates in the fells, I suppose.
Yeah. And
I would say, realistically speaking, from about Old County Tops last year was probably when it started to get really, so it's been like a year of relatively hard training. But after we did that 10 I got that out. After we did that 10 in 10 in September, that's when I really thought, yeah, that's proven it, I'll do it. And then it was a matter of giving it a couple of months break, and then January, first run I did was with Rob Brooks and Catherine in December the 27th, and that was the start of my specific BG training.
So Danny was on leg 3. Leg 3 was really horrible. So I think he probably saw me struggling at my worst. But I'm on leg 3 this time, so I think I'll get to see Danny as he struggles on his round probably as well, because I mean the whole round's hard, but if you can get through leg 3 and still be running, still be moving comfortably, then you've done a lot of the work.
I thought that sounds interesting but mental and probably unrealistic. I spoke to Chris about it, saying, was he ever going to have a stab, and he says, well, never at all. And I was thinking, well, Chris is like 10 times better foul runner than what I am, and so no, I would have never ever envisaged doing it. Mark Smith, then see Mark Smith pushing me all to be interested in the BG. Like you say, read about it, but at that point, Reckian, one leg of it, I did leg 3 Reckian, and just thought, it blows your mind, I think, doing that. The idea of putting it together, 5 legs, well.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think I taught Danny some good technique, downhill technique. Yeah. It was pretty good. I was quite.
How'd you get the bus home after?
No, yeah, I did. My plan was to run when I finished, and I was like, I thought about walking, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna sit here for 20 minutes and wait for a bus.
John 2017, and then that was like when I started really thinking I'd just push on and see, but realistically it was always kind of like I'll just train. The way we did for John's, and I would just persevere with that and see how it goes. But I didn't. All the way through, I kept thinking, "There's no chance I can do this." Yeah. I can't piece together 2 legs. Never mind, sort of putting 5 of them back to back.
Just a really stubborn, determined, single-minded kind of a runner. You don't need to be that fast, but you do need to run. But you just need to keep going, and you need to have faith that you can just keep going even when it's really hard.
Do you think Danny has those attributes?
Oh yeah. Yeah, everybody has a hard time, but it's keeping going when you've had a hard time. And so we've done loads in the last couple of years, and I know that Danny can keep going when he's had a hard time. So
No, it was just me and Danny.
So how far in front was Danny at the bottom? Or did he wait for you?
He waited for us for a bit, and then he just disappeared. And then there was this guy walking back up the hill saying, "Your friend told him to hurry up." He's like, hurry your arse up or something like that.
That's brilliant.
And I could just see like a little dot in the distance. It was the same coming down Great Calver, you know, when you got over Heather. And Danny, I was like, ooh, and I fell over about 35 times or something. And Danny was just at the bottom waiting. And then that's when I realised I should maybe say something and not have me on leg one. Because I don't want to. Because Danny was taking it easy and was that far ahead. And I would end up slowing him down at that point. If I was going to do leg one, I would have had to cut a lot of the corner off to just stay ahead.
I think that's the lowest I've seen Danny. He goes quiet when everybody goes quiet when they're really working hard. But the Old Counties Tops was a really hot summer last summer, and it was one of the hottest days of the summer. And I mean, the Old Counties Tops, no one enters it unless they're a decent runner, or at least, you know, they're well able to handle themselves on the fells. But I think even that year 40% of the field didn't finish it. It was just really, really hard going in the heat. And I think about 8 miles till the end, I think he just ran out of energy and we just needed to stop and eat. But as soon as he ate, he was fine and running again. But I think that's eating's a big thing.
I don't know how many people know the history really of what happened, but about nearly 10 years ago, Dan was running the London Marathon and I lived down in Surrey, so I went to the end to meet him, and I knew he'd be sub 3 hours or roundabout, and got to about, I think, 3:04 and he wasn't there, which was slightly worrying. And I remember him coming in and him being just a really funny colour, and saying his quads and legs were cramping, and he thought he was going to have to get on the sweeper bus because he couldn't get to the end, and a couple of miles towards the end he was really struggling, and it was just a bit suspect, and we thought he must just be poorly. And then I think we spent about 6 months on the couch after that, and he literally couldn't walk or move, and he lost his eyesight, so he had only partial vision. And I worked in the community neurological team at the time, and I thought he had motor neuron disease, if I'm honest, and it was just a really scary time for the whole family. And then about a year later he got a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, and which was kind of shattering for all of us really. Well, I think his first run after that, I mean at that point he's obviously kept some muscle memory, and his body knew he was a runner and he carried on, but his first run out there he had pretty much no sensation in his feet, and he was wobbling all over the place and hanging on lampposts and all sorts, so I think that was very difficult for him. And he's had some very dark days, but running's always got him through it really. And actually, I mean, his illness is a massive thing, but not really in terms of his illness preventing him from doing anything, more the fact that actually I'm completely not at all that he can do this with an illness like that, because 10 years on he's just incredible really. Well, who knows, I mean the way he's going, his track record's pretty good, but it does take its toll. Every time he has a relapse it takes its toll on him, and he gets a few more symptoms and a few more problems, but we don't know. I mean, he could be, worst case scenario, he talks himself about, he could be in a wheelchair and he might never run again and things like that. I hope that's not the case. So he's pretty incredible really, even though I don't like to tell him that. Yeah, so if he has what we call heat sensitive fatigue, so if he gets too hot, he starts to show some neurological symptoms, so his speech might change, he gets a bit more clumsy, he starts to feel really chronically fatigued, and he loses, all of his symptoms start to kind of exacerbate, so he might start losing a bit of vision, things like that. He seems like he's a bit punch drunk really when it happens, and it's quite scary to watch. But if he gets too tired, it is difficult. He also has a lot of problems with acid reflux as well, which is part of his condition, and obviously he's on his disease control and modifying drugs, so he's not going to be able to take those, so I don't know how that'll affect him, but I think he should be okay with that. And I think he's incredibly capable of doing this, and I think he is so bloody minded and determined. There's no way this will beat him. If he's got a a shot at it, you'll do it.
Nice backdrop at home there. Well, I mean, this is sort of a rescheduled round because Danny was planning to go in the summer, pretty much the longest day of the year, with I think a full moon, and he got it all completely organised down to the last thing to make it as smooth a possible ride for him as possible. And I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks before his round, I think he had a bit of a fall on the tibia and smacked his knee. So he tried really hard. He did loads of rehab and stopped running and did loads of gym work and swimming and strength and conditioning, and just tried all he could to get himself ready to get back running again. But I think it was just too soon, and his knee just wouldn't have been up to it.
So the attempt was going to be June the 14th, and that would have been, I think it was about four weeks before when I injured that knee, maybe. Either 4 or 5 weeks before, because I thought it was enough time really to get put right, but obviously not. Chris wasn't protecting us enough. You can put this bit in. And he was just being a clever dick, too close to the thing, and just was trying to be fast descend and tripped on a rock. I'd decided on the Sunday, although I sort of was humouring you lot really, and said I'll go and see Chris Smith and have a massage on Monday and see if he can put it right, but I knew that my knee was too sore. It was sore going up and downstairs. I wasn't going to be. There's no chance, absolutely no chance I would have got around. I think once you make the decision, it's fine, isn't it? If it had been a decision that would have meant that I wasn't going to do it till next summer, that would have been a different matter altogether. But I think I knew in my head, postponing it meant it would still happen this summer. Yeah. If I'd even went ahead and risked starting it and only got 2 legs in, and then that was me goosed for the rest of the year, that would have been worse than not doing it. So I think I balanced all that out quite well. And
well, we've hired a little guest house that has 50 steps to the front door. It's going to be like a mountain when he comes back. I think his recovery does take a lot longer. I think when he did the 10 and 10, it took a while. Some of the big runs he's done, it's taken him nearly a month to get over it. Where I think, the likes of yourself, you'd be looking at a week or so, wouldn't you? But 2 or 3. don't think so, apart from to say that I feel a lot of empathy for his long-suffering wife. I hope you're going to interview her, poor thing, who's never seen him for a year. So yeah, it's going to be amazing when he's done it. It's going to be a big relief and a big celebration. Yeah, really happy.